Hello everyone, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans. Before we get into today's video, just another quick reminder, tickets are now on sale for the Further North 2025 live show taking place on Sunday the 23rd of February at Mr. West in Footscray. Doors open at 1, show kicks off at 2. I'll be there, Josh from Further North will be there, North Melbourne Closer to a Flag will be there, and special guest Eddie Ford is joining us for this year's show. It's going to be so much fun. If you don't have anyone to go with, buy a ticket anyway. It's going to be a room full of North Melbourne supporters and an amazing North Melbourne community, and I would hate for someone to miss out because I didn't know anybody there. I've said a few times I will leave Josh to run the show and I will come and sit with you if you don't know anybody. So buy a ticket, don't let that stop you. I can't wait to see all of you there. It's going to be so much fun. We had a great time last year and I'm so excited to do it all again in a few weeks time. So if you don't have your tickets, they are selling out really, really quickly. I'll leave the link in the description down below. Also, my cap, you might have noticed, I've got some samples. The Kanga TV caps are coming very, very soon. Pre-order is going to open in a couple of weeks' time. I will share more about that with you when I have a better timeline. But for now, I'm going to stop yapping. Let's get into the video. Well, this is the video I wish I wasn't making, and a video I'm sure you were hoping you wouldn't have to watch, but I do appreciate you tuning in anyway if you are. For those who did watch my video on Wednesday night, George Wardlaw did injure his hamstring at training earlier in the day. Now, at the time, we didn't have any further updates on the severity of the injury. We heard from Patch Adams, we heard from Harry Sheasel. They were both optimistic, but knew that it would be a precautionary approach with George, just given his injury history, particularly with those hamstrings. While scans yesterday did confirm the worst for North fans, we will be missing George Wardlaw to a severe hamstring injury for at least 10 to 12 weeks. It's not ideal. It is not necessarily an issue from a personnel perspective. We know we've got the cattle that can cover for him, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. We also know that we will probably see George at some time during the season, but it's just another injury, another hamstring injury to add to what has already been a really difficult period of time for George. He's had troubles with his hamstring. He also had the concussion last year, so he was really in a position this preseason where he was training really hard, training really well, and his body was probably the best that it looked for quite some time, as Harry did talk about in his press conference on Wednesday afternoon. But unfortunately, it's not good news for George. And the more injuries he does have throughout his career, the harder it is going to be able to get his body right and onto the park for some consistency and continuity as his career progresses. I wish George nothing but the best. I know everyone watching wishes George nothing but the best, a speedy and really full recovery. Hopefully we can see him back out there in season 2025. I guess the conversation now turns to who is going to take George's spot in the side and what does our 23 look like when we do face the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium in round 1. We've got about 6 weeks to shuffle the magnets and to try out all different things. I think there's a few options, which is great, and it's obviously one benefit of North having a real stack of midfielders waiting in the wings. I think the first person that probably has a big opportunity, and the name has already been floated, I did float the name in my previous video as well, is Will Phillips. We all know that Will Phillips is, he's bulked up and apparently training the house down. Opportunity now is here for him. Not that he needs extra motivation to prove his worth and to try and break into the side, but this really is an opportunity now, and hopefully one that he can take with both hands. He does seem like somebody who would be a great fit for the side. It also seems like the opportunity now for him, he can have a really good run of games uninterrupted, let him build his confidence up and prove that, he can really be a staple in this midfield moving forward. The other one is Tom Powell. Now, Tom Powell has really cemented himself in the best 23. I think his season in 2024 was one of the most underrated and one of the most impressive that we saw across the board from our midfielders and from our team in general. He was one of the most improved. For Tom Powell, there's a lot of talk about him floating potentially through the back line, and there's no reason why he can't still do that with George absent from the side, but both of them are those real contested, ferocious, physical players. They both do have that sort of tackling sense, that hunting sense in them, and so it seems like a natural fit that he would be able to step in and just play more midfield minutes rather than having to split his time between defence and the midfield just because of that personnel and that logjam of midfielders that we do have and the amount of players that we can rotate through the midfield. It could open up doors for Tom Powell to cement his spot in the midfield. The other two names that it really does open the door for is Colby McKercher and Finn O'Sullivan. Both of them I had in my best 23. I had Colby McKercher on a wing. I had Finn O'Sullivan on the bench with the expectation he would go straight through the midfield rather than starting off in defence the same way Kirch and Harry Sheasler did in their first seasons. But I think they've both been training and playing in match sims in different positions and maybe spending less time in the midfield, but now the opportunity is really there for the taking if they want it. Obviously, they've got to prove themselves, as do just about every member of this side, especially in that midfield where very few, I would say, would be a lock. I think there's definitely a lot of time and a lot of options for us to figure out what our best look is. And I think for both of them, the opportunity really is there for them to make a case. I also want to throw the name Luke Urquhart in as a bit of a smoky and as a bit of a possibility that we might look to try as well. It's obviously quite different to the other midfielders that we really have in there. He does play a bit bigger. He does play quite contestedly. He can go forward and kick a goal. He also is that real big physical presence. And I think a lot of fans have been really, really impressed with his work during the off-season and the pre-season as well. We obviously have so many options, and I guess it's the first time that I can really sit here and say we're very blessed to have a stacked midfield and to have a bunch of players waiting in the wings. It is unfortunate these are the circumstances that they will be getting their opportunity in, though. And I think first and foremost, I speak for everyone again when I just say I hope that George can have a really good, speedy and full recovery, and we do see him later on in season 2025. But right now, this is the situation, this is the challenge that we're faced with, and there's so many players who now have the opportunity to put their hand up. They can rise to the occasion and really make themselves known and cement themselves a spot. There's plenty of players, there's plenty of options. It's really going to be up to who wants it most. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we end up going with as we get closer to the season. What do you guys think? Let me know who you think is best placed to replace George in our best 23. Leave all of your thoughts in the comments down below. We can also continue the conversation over on social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook, Kanga TV Show. I look forward to seeing you in my next video.